Hi, my name's Kathy Millett, and this week we're looking at snow pastes. Yes, snow pastes. What are they? Well, they're a paste that looks like snow. Seriously, they are products that you can get out of the tub, put on, and you can have snowdrifts. So we've got a couple we've looked at in previous weeks, such as the Knock and the Deluxe Material ones, and these are a few more products. And they go everything from a more icy snow to a fluffier snow. That looks really cool, doesn't it? Some of them are more just a paint that is a good starter layer for you to then put other things on. And this one here is very gritty and grainy. So let's see which ones produce which results. We've got AK Interactive Terrain Snow, big pot. Tamiya Diorama Texture Effect, Snow Effect. Vallejo Environment Acrylic Snow and Foam Snow. I'm going to put all of these on in the same way so that they're identical in the way that I've done them. And now I'm going to use just a wooden spatula. So here we go, AK Snow, and I'm just going to push it on in half and see how it goes on. Now obviously it's going to be hard to use it on the grass, and it's not meant for grass, I don't think. So I'm going to do the best that I can around the bushes and things, and first impressions is that it's easy enough to apply. It's soft enough that it spreads well. And now I have got a brush and some water if I need it, but I don't think I will with this. It's going on like really nice icing. So far so good, very easy to apply. And then the proof will be what it looks like when it's dried. So in this one I'm using two Vallejo products, one of which is Foam Snow, which is just basically white paint that's very, very thick and white, so you can paint it on very easily. So I'm just going to put a blurb on there and see how this goes on. I think, reading it, I bought it thinking, oh, that's exciting, and then realised, no, it really just is a thick white paint. But there's no reason why a thick white paint can't work if the underneath of your thing like this looks very much like a sort of snow sort of drifts anyway. So there's no reason that you have to spend a lot of time putting a lot of products on if you can just put something like this on. So it's just a thick white paint. You can get white paints from loads of places. This one's called Foam Snow because actually foam is another area where you may want to have a thicker white paint than normal. So it's presumably got extra pigment in it. And actually, because it's doing so well on here, I'm going to see what it's like on the grass. And I wouldn't normally consider doing texture paints on grass. Let's see if I can just get it to give it a bit of a... There we are, just painting in the direction. I don't think I need as much as I got out. You don't want it to clog the grass, but like that. It's a bit cloggy. So I'm just going to smooth the rest of this out, as I've got way too much out, and leave it just without any brush marks, just in these gaps to look like driven snow. So the next product I'm going to use is Tamiya Snow Texture Diorama, and I've had this a while, and it's a bit thicker than perhaps. You can thin all these. It's perhaps a bit thicker than it was when it was bought, judging by how far down it is down the container. Oops. But it's got a very different texture to the others. Push this one on and you can see it's a lot less bright. And again, with all these, it almost doesn't matter what's underneath. This is an interesting one. I'm intrigued to see what it's going to dry like. It has a really gritty texture. And I mean, Tamiya do all these textures, they are aimed at sort of 1 to 35 scale and above, so they're not necessarily aimed at HO, and that is a thing with AK Interactive as well. They're not necessarily aimed at the smaller scales. So when you look at them and go, oh, that looks wrong, just think that maybe it isn't actually aimed at the scale you're modelling. And if you're doing N, a lot of these things will look just too big. It's just the way you know, people have marketed their products, developed them. You'd think snow would be scaleless, but sadly, I doubt it is. So the final one I've got is, it's another weathering effect snow, and it's a accumulated snow deposits. And again, it's Vallejo, and it's a thick paste. So I'm going to put this on with this again. And it's fascinating to see how you can get different products, even from the same people, that give slightly different effects. Again, I think with these pastes, some of them benefit from just a little damp finger, just to give them a bit more of a smoother sort of finish. So I'm going to leave these to dry and see what they're like when I'm done. So here's the outcome. On this tab, we have the two Vallejo products. We have the foam snow, and it's basically just, when you read it, it says foam and snow. It's a heavy extra opaque white acrylic, so it's basically just paint. So can you get what you want with just a paint, a thick paint? And the answer is, with 2 or 3 layers, it would form something. You would need your undercoat to be really good. But if you're looking for just having a nice thick white paint, I suspect there are many different options that you could have, right down to white household emulsion. But this one, very useful for when you just want a thick and perhaps a smaller amount of a model type of paint to do perhaps small pick out bits like the tops here that I've done. This side is the Vallejo Environment Snow. I've got to say, it's the weirdest texture for snow. It's very gritty. And when you look at it, it is definitely got a sort of almost like a pumice stone texture in it. So I'm less keen on it perhaps than the others that we've looked at, just because that final texture doesn't really do much for me. But there may be an idea where you want to do a snow and that is the perfect effect for what you're trying to do. So don't discount it, but just leave it there in the arsenal of perhaps ones you might get later. This one here looks beautiful, doesn't it? It's a really frothy, whippy, fresh snow. And that one is AK Interactive's Diorama Snow. And I've got to say, it's a nice big pot. I don't actually have the prices on these at the moment, but easy to get hold of AK Interactive, certainly in my country. Beautifully whippy put on, even coat till I drop something on it, and really simple result. The other side is the Tamiya Diorama Effect Snow Paste, and as you'd expect from Tamiya, it's a very well-known brand. It's a nice effect. It's a little bit more icy looking, it's got a little bit more particle in it. I would say that snow that's been around a while had a chance to perhaps melt a little and refreeze, but very important, especially if you're doing a diorama where the snow has been around quite a long time and is perhaps getting a bit muddier. I think that's a great effect for that. And if we look back at some of the other weeks that we've been looking at, this is what we did with Deluxe Materials, and this was their Create and Shape. And remember, it wasn't even a snow paste, it was just a white modelling compound, and it produced a beautiful result. And I did put a little bit of their micro balloons over here, and actually I think that's one of my favourite snow paste products. None of these others cracked. I didn't put them on particularly quickly. This one did, as did the knock one when I put it on quite thickly. The thicker the coat, the more likely you are to get cracks. That's fine, you can just cover over any cracks, either with a powder like this or with another thin coat of the compound, whatever it is. Another product that Deluxe had was their Shoveled Snow, which you mix with whichever colour glue you want, and I mixed this with a slightly more yellowy glue by the look of it, and it created a nice pile, and then I used Icy Sparkles on the top. Did get a bit carried away with those, didn't I? And the final one is the Nox Snow Paste. Now this one has the most sparkle in it of any of them, and you can see it's quite thickly put on here. It did get that crack effect, and a bit thinner over here, and it's come out really nicely with that dark underneath. So quite a versatile snow paste for you to use. So there's a lot of options there, and I don't think you can go wrong. You just have to pick the right one for what kind of snow you are doing on your diorama. And with all of these products, it's sometimes just down to availability and price. Which one's easiest for you to get hold of? And people say to me, which is the cheapest? The cheapest for me in the UK, when I bought them 10 years ago, some of them, may not be the cheapest for you buying them now in a different country. Well, Thanks again, folks. A big thanks to my Patreon supporters. Buying some of these products hasn't been cheap, and they've enabled me to go out and try some products that I probably wouldn't have tried otherwise, so I can put them here for you. So please, if you've used any of these products, you have any thoughts on them, put them in the comments below. There's some great products out there. I might have missed a few. Just come and tell me what you use and how you like to use it.